friends, and welcome to All the Things TV, where we discuss full living and goal getting with the grace and gifts God gives, and a focus on small wins, simple strategies, and successful relationships. I'm Tiffany Jo Baker, and today we're going to be focusing on successful relationships. And I have one of my favorite people here, my husband, Brian Baker.
Yeah.
We are just about going to be celebrating 20 years come May 5th, but this will probably air after that. But today we wanted to talk to y'all about how to do life with somebody that's different than you. Because we are all in business with people different than us. We are in life with people different than us. Obviously marriage with people different than us. And so how do you do that? How do you be who God's created you to be and still be able to communicate and navigate together well? So just a couple stats that I just looked up today. Businesses say that they spend more than 17 hours a week clarifying communication. And we all know that divorce, that one of the top one or two, it kind of goes back and forth reason for divorce, is communication difficulties and financial difficulties. And a lot of times the financial difficulties are a result of the communication difficulties. So a recent study I saw said that the lack of communication or difficulties communicating accounts for 65% of divorces. And then the other part are conflict resolution. So we're really going to talk about communicating and navigating decision-making with people who are different, because would you say we're different?
I'd say we're very different.
Yeah.
Definitely an example of opposites attract.
For sure. So what would you say, how would you describe me in 3 words?
Organized, a driven person, and you're very interesting in those don't always, you're just very loving and giving. Like,
okay. So you are almost making it sound like being organized and driven, you can't be loving and kind.
Correct. Like it can come across
harsh.
Just that you're the driven side and task oriented and all of that. But the true heart behind it, if you understand the heart of the person and the drive behind that, is their love and appreciation for the people. So, and you've obviously displayed that over and over throughout our marriage and throughout our lives to many people. So, but it's not the first thing that you're going to see. It's definitely a behind the scenes of some of the other frontal stuff that's easy to pick out.
Well, it's not the first thing you're going to see. You're going to see my organized, driven, or the family. But other people might see that side of me first.
For sure.
So I would describe you as sincere. I would say compassionate, and I would say just very genuine. You're welcome. You have a lot more of the heart, the emotive. So if you know anything about communication profiles, there's 3 centers of intelligence. And Brian and I happen to be certified trainers with the Life Languages communication profile, which we use. And so there's 3 centers of intelligence. You have those people who are thinkers, who operate out of their head. You have those people who are feelers, who operate out of the emotive parts of them. And then you have the people who are the action-oriented doers, the people who do things and show their action first. So it's really figuring out where your primary is and how the rest of it kind of plays along. So for me, I think first, then I act, and then I feel. And for you, I think you feel, you're a feel, act, think.
Yep.
So that can play very differently for us as we're thinking about things, as we're making decisions, all that good stuff. But what has you finding out how I'm wired? How has that helped you, or how has that helped our relationship?
I would say really the biggest thing for life languages and understanding that we all have all of these languages, but we primarily operate out of kind of our top ones. What it did for me is it allowed me to see the differences as a strength.
Mm-hmm.
And so those differences that that I don't necessarily have, or they're not my top,
Mm-hmm.
those things are your strengths, and vice versa, which is where those opposites can really bring an amazing unity to a marriage if you allow those things to be taken advantage of in a good sense,
Mm-hmm.
to make the two of you operate really well. But the main thing is it took the frustration out of those differences for me. And so I'm like, okay, she's driven, she's on task, and that's not a lack of love, like I was saying before. That's not it at all. It's a different side that is maybe shown. And when you realize that those opposites are actually strengths,
Mm-hmm.
you see God in that,
Mm-hmm.
really providing something that I needed and something that you needed.
Yes,
So
you did.
So it really it diffused
Mm-hmm.
conflict in a way that I that probably would have been something that could have been even more of an issue,
Yeah.
you know. And so that diffusing of the conflict, and not it diffuses it in the sense that you don't take it personal.
Right.
That was the big thing for
first.
me. Correct.
So it's easy when I'm coming across a certain way for you to be like, oh, that's because of me, or oh, she's doing that to me.
Correct.
Where it's not that at all. So if you remember, back 20 years when we did premarital counseling,
Wow.
What Pastor Joe said to us, we got married right after college, graduating from college.
It was Pastor Brad.
It was Pastor Brad. You're right. It's Pastor Brad. We got married right after college, got married and moved to Texas to start a new life job ministry.
Did all the major life changes other than children in about a month.
Yeah. And so we went back home to his pastor, Pastor Brad, and did a premarital session. Then we went to my pastor, Pastor Joe, and did a premarital session. But Pastor Brad said to us, your initial turn on or your initial attraction will become your biggest frustration. And so we saw that totally play out, right? Because the initial attraction from me to you, for you, was that I was like, he's so kind, he's so easygoing, he's so stable. And then I'm going to speak for you, your initial attraction was she's so go-getter, and she's like a mover and shaker and makes things happen. And then we got married, started youth ministry together. And you can imagine how those rubbed on each other, right? So
she's like, well, you get your butt moving. And I'm like, can you chill out?
Exactly.
So those frustrations of those strengths, definitely, it's an attraction because it's a weakness on the other person's. Yeah. And that's why those opposites really do attract, because it's needed.
Yes.
And I think God knows that stuff.
Absolutely.
So in the process of people thinking, oh, we're so different, I mean, you hear about people trying to have, find a husband and a wife, and they want them to be the same, and you do not want them to be the same. I mean, it
works for some people. We've done we've been in marriage and family ministry almost our whole marriage.
Hobbies and interests, those kinds of things, for sure. Those are great things. But I think people can get so shying away from the differences of people that they don't see it as a strength, and it really is.
Well, initially they do. That's why they're attracted, right?
Correct.
And then it becomes the frustration of, you're doing this different and I don't get it. And why can't you just do this or be this? It would make our lives so much easier. So really figuring out how we're wired through the communication tool, through life languages has probably, and our pastor had said as well, using this life language tool next to the Bible has been the most influential resource and tool in our marriage, in our businesses, in our family, as anything out there. Because not only for me, like I felt so bad. Like when Trinity was 5 and I took her to, it was kindergarten for the first time. And, all the mamas are just bawling, dropping off their kids. And I'm the only one who's like, not, right? I'm like, praise him. She's going to school. And she literally was like to me, Mom, you don't need to come in. Like she's, typical firstborn. She was ready to move on with her life and do the kindergarten thing. So she didn't even need me there. And I was like, yeah, like we were both like, this is good. This is great. And so I remember getting in the car and thinking, I must be a horrible mother. And I cried, I teared from thinking, what's wrong with me? You hear that? Thinking, what's wrong with me? I wasn't feeling, I was thinking, there must be something wrong with me. So figuring out where my center of intelligence is, how I filter things, whether that's through my head, my heart, or my hands, has really helped me be more confident in who God made me and work better with people who are different. So we really say the learning about this, about how to communicate, how we're wired, does the ABCs. It's A, it brings awareness to how you were wired and made. B, helps you be healthy in those languages, in that communication style. And C, it helps you communicate well. So any last things you'd like to say about navigating life with somebody who's really different than you?
It can be a fantastic strength. If you develop the skills to understand it as a strength, it will be amazing. It takes some figuring out to figure that out. And I think part of that for us is because we were opposite, we dug into this. I mean, we got certified and we had to figure that out because those differences can cause conflict. Yeah. And now it's much easier because we've developed the skills to not take things personally, to understand the heart behind the person. We are often saying to our children, what is the heart of the message? What was the meaning behind that? I may have misspoken in my words or said that wrong in my tone or something like that, but diffusing it and bringing it back to the heart of the message, we know that our hearts are good for each other. So it's not an intentional rub or an intentional miscommunication. So those things, by making it, if you know that in your head, it diffuses a whole lot of things and it allows it to be something that can truly be a strength and a blessing to your marriage, to your children, to your family unit as you communicate well. And I think it just makes it helps you be a healthier person, to understand others well, because you understand yourself well. I mean, it's major aha moments of, oh my goodness, how did this know this about me? Yeah. And I didn't put that together, but here's what I learned about me. And knowing yourself well, knowing strengths and weaknesses and all of those kinds of things, I just think that it really makes you a healthier person. And why wouldn't I want to be a healthier person for my wife, for my kids, for anyone? So that's the heart behind it, is self-development. And the cash in, so to speak, is great relationships when you do the work.
That's right.
So,
well, friends, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Tiffany and Brian Baker, and just helping you fuel and fulfill your faith journey through the ups and the downs. Now go do all that you were created to do with the grace and gifts God's given you.